Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome back. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back. Listen. If you don't know me, this is your first time. Welcome to the channel. Let's Grow Together PG. My name is Brandon Massenberg. I'm running for Board of Supervisors in Prince George County, District 2. District 2. You may have seen the signs out. You may have seen a couple of banners with this face, this shirt too. This isn't a coincidence. I want you guys to get familiar. Listen, I got a good video for you today. If you have been to the channel before, if you do have Facebook, if you do have Instagram, if you haven't been living under a rock, if you do live in the 21st century, if your phone is on you all the time, like most people's phones, you probably have seen me. You probably have heard some of the things I've been talking about, okay? Listen, if you see my platform, because I actually have one that I'm running on, one is infrastructure, two for me is business development and growth, and the third for me are fully funded schools and public services, okay? Today, we're gonna take a deep dive into Prince George County public schools, and I'm gonna give you hashtag the facts. Just the facts, just the facts, just the facts. Listen, I'm running for Board of Supervisors, yes. Board of Supervisors and the school board are not the same entity. But if you've been listening to the debates going on, if you've been to a couple of the town halls, if you haven't been, if you've just been listening to people talk, one thing they've been saying back and forth between each other is they want the Board of Supervisors to have a lot more oversight on some of the spending and some of the activities that are going on with the school board. I happen to also be one of those people. I think that we should have more oversight on things that they're spending on. Now, with that being said, one of the jobs of the Board of Supervisors is to give local funding to the school board to be able to pay and fund their activities for the year, okay? So make no mistake about it, the Board of Supervisors is actively involved and engaged in what's going on with the school board and what's going on with Prince George County Public Schools. So don't think that we're just completely separate. We have a lot to do with what's going on, okay? And so, as I saw somewhere else, I would be remiss if I didn't talk to you about it and give you some kind of insight into what's going on. And also, just to add, as a caveat, if you will, if you're running for Board of Supervisors, if you're running for a leadership position, you better be well versed in everything that's going on inside your county, okay? So yeah, infrastructure is what I'm running on. Business development and growth is what I'm running on, okay? Fully funding our public schools, fully funding our public services is what I'm running on also too. So that means you need to be having conversations with people. You need to be going in depth with people. Long before you just get to the part where you make the budget, long before you sit down and you got to start talking about where the money goes, you need to actually have an idea about what's needed, what you're responsible for, and what's necessary for the growth of your county, and also for the betterment of your people, okay? So if the word growth scares you, which some people it does, okay, it is what it is. For other people it doesn't. And the people who actually are listening, who are actually engaged in the conversation, who are engaging in the conversation in good faith, you know what I'm talking about, okay? So listen, let me get to it. Teachers, administrators, staff, bus drivers, parents, students, you watch this video and you like what you hear, if this is ringing a bell, if this is touching your soul, if this is speaking to you, I want you to do me a favor. Number one, I want you to like, share, and subscribe to this channel, okay? And then number two, I want you to share this thing. I'm going to splice it up all week. I'm going to have different blurbs coming out. I'm going to have different reels because that's what I do. I know how to use that thing, okay? It's effective. But I want you to share it. I want you to tell your friends. I want all of you to watch this, and I want all of you to talk about this, okay? Because there are going to be people, I'm sure, who are going to come back with all sorts of things trying to refute this. Let me tell you this. I've got papers over here. I've got facts to back up what I've been saying. They can come with me whatever they want to. I want to actually have a conversation with you about what's going on in our county. You have people that are running for elected office to represent you, okay? Whether it's Board of Supervisors, whether it's school board, they are running to represent you. They need to be open, they need to be honest, they need to be transparent about what they have in mind and what they want to do. Don't rely on their buddies to come post about what they want and share a couple of things. You need to hear it from them, and you need to hear it consistently from them. So today, from me, let's talk about these public schools. All right, so number one, comprehensive plan priorities, 2022 through 2027, okay? These are the school boards. This is for the schools. This is their list for 5 years. This is what they're saying is important. This is what they are moving towards, okay? So number one, academic growth and engagement. I agree. Number two, dedicated and connected staff. Good to have. Number three, operational excellence and effectiveness. And number 4, caring, culture, and climate. Okay, very good. Now, let's start with number 1. Number 1, I'm going to put that under academic growth and engagement. So I'm going to call that funding our schools, okay? Now, listen, I'm going to put down my handy-dandy marker that matches what I got going on, all right? And I'm going to come over and I'm going to grab some papers, okay? So I'm going to read off of this, and I'm also going to read the papers too, so I can actually tell you where I'm getting my information from. And like I said, if you want to go along, if you want to read it, if you want to see what it is, you're able to get it, you're able to follow along, okay? All right. Number 1, funding our schools. This is from fiscal year 2021. All the data's in. We don't have all the data in from more current years, but we do have the data in. We have different plans that are in place, different perspectives that are in place going forward, okay? But for fiscal year 2021, and if you want to look this up, this is on the Prince George County Public Schools website, all right? This is on page 29 of the proposed budget, okay? So you can go look that up right now. You can go look that up right now if you want. You can print it out. You can follow along, okay? So listen, Prince George County Schools, Region 1. Region 1 per pupil funding, all sources. All sources are going to be federal sources, federal money, okay? Your biggest chunk of money is going to come from the state. Every school system that you see, their biggest chunk of money is going to come from the state, okay? State funding, and then number 3, local funding. Why is local funding so important? Local funding is telling you what the people who are running your local government and the people who are running your local schools think about what they should be giving to your schools, okay? So the state's going to come forward with their money. You know, I had someone in the last town hall say that, well, you know, Virginia's 41st in spending as a state. Fair enough. But take Virginia's role, and then you take our role as your leadership. What are we giving to make up for that? Okay, Virginia's funding us kind of, they're not giving us that much. Fair enough, fair enough. Other school systems are funding their schools. What are we doing to fund our schools, right? Let's take this trip. All sources, fiscal year 2021, Prince George County. All sources, per pupil funding, $11,496, okay? The state average in fiscal year 2021, $14,206. $14,206, that is on page 29. Page 29, okay? You can follow along right there, all right? So listen, just in case you're wondering what's going on with that, that puts us $2,710 below the state average. $2,710 below the state average. That makes us 15th out of 15th, dead last at the end, butt end of the joke, last in per pupil funding for Region 1 public schools. You want to know some Region 1 public schools? Number 1, Surrey County, $24,000. Charles City County, $18,800. Sussex County, $18,792. Colonial Heights, Petersburg, Henrico, Richmond, Chesterfield, Goochland, Dinwiddie, Hopewell, Hanover, Powhatan, New Kent, Prince George at the very end, okay? Now listen, let's keep going. All right, next page. Region 1, this is on page 30, so you just flip it over, you can just get that next slide. Region 1, per pupil, this is local funding. This is what we give as a county over to our schools, okay? This is what we give per pupil from the county over to our schools, okay? This is not the cumulative number, this is not the big number in the general fund that we transfer over. This is the actual breakdown per pupil. So you have that big number, and then you have the per pupil funding of what you get from that, okay? And wouldn't you know, we are 13th out of 15 Region 1 schools in per pupil funding with local transfers from us, okay? So when someone tells you that, hey, we care about our schools, we're doing the best that we can, we want to run a tight ship here, we give as much as we can, not if you're doing 13 out of 15. If you're 13th out of 15th, and so let me tell you, just so you can know, so all the schools that I just named, all the municipalities that I just named, we're in front of Petersburg and Hopewell. For fiscal year 21, we were at $2,608. Petersburg was at $2,141, and Hopewell was at $1,701. Now, mind you, that's just local transfers. So if you're thinking about the city of Petersburg and you're thinking about the city of Hopewell, you're thinking about income that's coming in to them for their residents into the county. They're not making what our residents are making. So yeah, that's going to come in like that. But then when you look at total spending, all sources, they're way ahead of us. They're way ahead of us, okay? Now, you take this, and once again, that's on page 30. That's on page 30. You flip it over. I'm going to name one more because they've added in here on the next. This is actually page 32, and they've added in fiscal year 23, which is $3,089 per pupil, and then they added in what was requested for fiscal year 24, which was an additional $307, so $3,396, right? So if you factor that in, all things being equal, that would jump us up to 12th out of 13th if nobody else added anything and we made our moves, okay? I'm pretty sure everybody else is going to add more to their funding as well, so we're pretty much at the end again, all right? Now, here's what I want to focus on. This is for fiscal year 22. This is for fiscal year 22, and this right here is from the superintendent's annual report. This is from the superintendent's annual report, okay? Superintendent's annual report for fiscal year 22, okay? And this is the list that we got off, okay? This is 134 local municipalities. 134 local municipalities, every city, independent city, every county in the Commonwealth of Virginia. And in fiscal year 2022, combined spending, federal, state, local, and you got to add state retail sales tax in there as well because we get that. Prince George County, $12,353. $12,353 per pupil, per student, all sources. That makes us 126th out of 134 local municipalities in the Commonwealth of Virginia. We're not even, we're at the bottom. And just so you can be like, well, you know, who's below us? Number 1, Giles County. 2, Appomattox. 3, New Kent. 4, King George. 5, Tazewell. 6, Wise County. 7, Culpeper. And then boom, Prince George, right there. So out of the $75 million in our expenditures or operations for fiscal year 2022, 12,353 per pupil is what we allocated right there, okay? So you're going to sit back and you're going to tell me that our school system, what we do for our schools, what we do for our children, what we do for our next generation, the people who are supposed to carry us, lead us into the future, 126 out of 134 is good enough? That's good enough? We're doing everything that we can do for our students with that? It's just, it's mind-boggling. And then I'm just gonna throw this out there. And so this is also from the superintendent's annual report. All right, fiscal year 22, you've seen that number. So we're at 12,353, that's per pupil, okay? Now, listen, let's go to fiscal year 23. Fiscal year 23, now this is a fiscal year 23 estimate, okay? So out of $82 million, $82,856,000, okay? In total expenditures that we're gonna spend out for our schools, 13,730 total funds, all sources per pupil. Local transfers, $3,300. $3,300. So it's just a little bit more than it was the year before. And then we flip it over one more time and we go fiscal year 2024 as an estimate, 81 million. So we dropped a little bit, 81 million for what we're going to spend here, 81 million for what we got going on. And then total spending, federal, state, local, $3,408. $3,408. So we went up, what, 108 bucks? 108 bucks per student. Local transfers over, $3,487. And we did a little voodoo with that because we took the money from the buses that we were going to give and we put that into the schools as well too. So there you go. There you go. So let's just knock that off. So when we're talking about funding our schools and you got a guy like me who's running around saying we need to fully fund our schools, and I got people yelling back at me, our schools are great, our schools are great. Our schools are great because our teachers are great, because our administrators are great, because our bus drivers are great, because staff is great, because everybody's busting their butt to do a good job. But you know what? We could be busting our butt a whole lot more and giving them the resources that they need to do their jobs, okay? Let me keep going. I know you guys got somewhere to be. I know you got some things you want to do. All right, so number two, right here where you talk about the comprehensive plan, you're talking about caring, culture, and climate. All right, caring, culture, and climate. All right, I have 3 children that are in Prince George County Public Schools right now, okay? I got a kindergartner, I got a 2nd grader, and I got a 5th grader, okay? And I can tell you, when I walk into that school, when I walk into that main office, when we go into the assemblies, when we see people around, everybody cares. This is absolute, listen, yes, absolutely, absolutely. I love our teachers, I love our administrators, our bus drivers put up with a lot. They're awesome people as well. This is great. But let me take you on this little trip right here, because this might be something that a lot of people do not know about Prince George. You know what? This might be something that a lot of people do know about Prince George, okay? And so depending upon where you are on that, I'm going to go ahead and just give you my perspective on it, okay? So listen, fiscal year 22 and 23, and this is also from the superintendent's list as well. This is pre-K through grade 12, 6,081.26 students in Prince George County Public Schools, okay? Just over 6,000 kids in Prince George Public Schools, okay? Now listen, because this is important. And somebody needs to speak to this, okay? If no one's going to speak on it, Brandon's going to speak on it, okay? And as a leader, these things are important. When someone tells you they're not important, they're not being honest with you, okay? These things are very important. All right, listen. 46% of our student body in all of our schools are white, okay? 30% are black, 14% are Hispanic, 8% are non-Hispanic, 2 or more races, mixed kids like mine, all right? 1% Asian Pacific Islander, 1% Native Hawaiian Pacific Islander, and you have 1% who are Native American, okay? In case you don't know what that means that Prince George County School District is a majority minority school district, okay? That means that when you walk into Prince George County schools, when you walk into Beasley, when you walk into Prince George High School, when you walk into North, when you walk into MB Clements, when you walk into these schools, you're gonna see a majority of the students of color. You're going to see a majority of the students walking around doing things in our public school system of color. Somebody has to speak to that, okay? And now, as a caveat to piggyback onto that, let me also say that 54% of the students are considered economically disadvantaged. Brandon, where are you getting this information? I'm getting this information from, if you want to go, now this is from the Board of Supervisors adopted 23-24 budget. This is on the community profile. Community profile is page 28, all right? This information on our public schools is on page 30. So if you want to go look this information up, go to the adopted fiscal year 23-24 budget for the Board of Supervisors, and that's where you're going to find this information. You're going to find this chart, and you're going to find what's on this board right here, all right? Listen. This has remained fairly consistent in our schools for the last 5 years, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, going over into fiscal year 24. So for the last half decade, the majority of the students in our school system have been people of color. And when you go to events at our school, it is a noticeable thing. And so let me just say that if you're going around and the majority of our school is a minority majority school district, then those kids have got to come from somewhere, you understand? They don't just pop up out of nowhere. So that means that Prince George County is starting to look a lot like this, people. This is something that we need to start talking about a lot more, okay? If you don't feel comfortable talking about it, if it's something that's not your cup of tea, listen, we're all adults, okay? Our children learn from us. We better get real comfortable facing real facts, okay? Prince George is going to continue to grow. Prince George is going to continue to get bigger, whether you want it to or not. And these population trends continue, these numbers are going to continue, okay? So when you have people who are out here talking about they don't want to grow anymore, they want to stop the growth, they want to shut the doors to the county, they don't want anything to happen, all right, close the doors right now. Boom, nobody else can walk in. Nobody else can walk out. Fort Greg Adams is going to stop sending people. Everything is going to stop. The world is going to end. This is the reality of the situation. This is what's happening right now. This is what has been happening in our schools, okay? 54% of students are considered economically disadvantaged. That is up 31.2% since 2012 and 2013. If you don't agree with me, or if you think I'm lying to you, the information is right here. Once again, it's on the fiscal year 23-24 adopted budget for the Board of Supervisors. You can go find this information yourself, okay? It went from 40.95% in 2012 and 2013 to 53.7% in 22 and 23. All things being equal, all things staying the same, without us adding any new businesses, without the factories coming here, without the tech industry coming here, without adding to our industrial park, without adding small and medium-sized businesses to help make our local economy better, to help make our local economy more competitive, what do you think this number is going to look like in 2030? What do you think that number is going to look like in 2040? You think that's going to stay at 54%? You think magically people are just going to stop moving here, number one, and then magically, number two, they're just going to start getting a lot of money? When? Where? How? Doing what? That number is going to continue. You know, I saw a lot of people taking advantage of some tragedy that just happened here, talking about, oh man, look at all this crime that's going on. What's going to happen when we get more and more economically disadvantaged? You're going to have more and more crime. All right, I've said it before in the video. All right, conditions create behavior. Conditions create behavior. You're talking about we didn't have those kind of things at Prince George before. Yeah, because 54% of the kids going to your schools weren't from economically disadvantaged families. So if your kid's living in a household that's economically disadvantaged, when they come to school, they're going to put that on the teachers. So you're sitting back, oh man, the schools are terrible, the schools are bad. I don't agree with you, number one. Yes, some of the kids are bad. It's like that everywhere you go. But it's only going to get worse, and it's only going to be more on our teachers. It's only going to be more on our administrators. It's only going to be more on our staff, because where are they going to get it from? This is a problem. This is a problem. And if you're not willing to acknowledge that this is a problem, then you are part of the problem. Okay, let's talk about the fact that we're not funding our schools. Let's talk about the fact that these are real facts of where we are right now. And let's talk about the facts that this is where we are right now. These two things alone. And if you want the facts, once again, if you want the facts, they're all right here. You can go look them up. If you want these facts, they're right there to be had. Okay, let me finish this up. Last one. All right, so you see right here for your comprehensive plan and priorities, you've got a dedicated and connected staff. That's number 2. And then you got operational excellence and effectiveness, okay? And on here, that's number 3. All right, so listen, first time teachers getting into the workforce, this is pre-COVID, this is before the pandemic hit. You had about 8,000, and this is statewide numbers. These are statewide numbers too, by the way. You had about 8,485 new teachers getting into it, okay? 8,485 teachers getting into it, all right? Prince George County, statewide, school year 2022, this is after the pandemic, you're talking 7,208. That's a 15% drop. You have less teachers who are willing to teach, less teachers who want to get involved in it, okay? Less teachers who want to get involved. Now, let's talk about teachers who are leaving the workforce, okay? Pre-pandemic levels, you're talking about 9,753 statewide. School year 21-22, you're talking about 10,900, almost 11,000 teachers. That's a 12% bump from pre-pandemic levels, okay? So you're asking, well, what's up with that? Why is it going on? What's that about? It must be the behavior. It must be the kids. It must be these terrible kids. It must be they need to be punished. It must be they need metal detectors. They need police walking around the schools. It must be that. No, not according to the data. Not according to what they're saying. This is reversing the impact, divisions and teachers self-report on solutions. This is on the Prince George County Public Schools website. This is a JLARC report. This is the Governor and General Assembly of Virginia, November 7th, 2022. This is page 22 on the proposed budget also for the school boards. You can actually go look this up and follow along if you want. All right. On raising salaries, 70% of teachers reported raising salaries would have a substantial positive impact on their morale and job satisfaction. 7 out of 10. So maybe 2 or 3 teachers who say, I don't need the money, it's about other things. But according to 7 out of 10 of these ladies and these dudes, they need more money. 90%, 9 out of 10. So the 8 people that you might know that believe the same things that you believe, that they're going to parrot back the same things that you've been parroting, yeah. But on here, 90% of school divisions, 90% reported that raising salaries would help recruit and retain teachers. 90%. 9 out of 10. 9 out of 10. So if we're just talking about salaries, right? If we're just talking about that, just that one thing alone, the average salary for all positions in Prince George County schools in fiscal year 23 was $58,564, okay? That is principals, teachers, where are we at here? That is, and that's right here. This is from the Prince George County Public Schools, same site, page 17. This is from the superintendent's annual report. This is all instructional positions, classroom teachers, guidance counselors, librarians, principals, and assistant principals. $58,564. Statewide in fiscal year 21 was $63,123. That's $4,559 less for our people than statewide. And this is 2 years after this number. So what's that number compared to that one now? All right, what's that number? So you're telling me that if you bump that salary, if you bumped everybody's salary up, then yeah, these conditions are still going to be real. These conditions are still going to hold. This is still going to be a thing. You think that's not going to make their job a little better? You think that's not going to make the day a little bit more sunny? You think that's not going to help them out a little bit? I think that's going to help them out a great bit. I think that's going to do a great thing. As a matter of fact, if we're talking salary, and this is going to be on page 16, same site, same thing, page 16. First year salary, Region 1. Prince George County does an amazing job. We start our teachers off at $51,311. That's Region 1 salaries for new teachers, all right? Now, you get to step 15, you get a little bit deeper into this thing, all of a sudden they're at $56,128. That's eighth out of 15th in what we're paying teachers that are 15 years into the game. Step 30, maximum Region 1, maximum, step 30, $67,610. We're 10th. So 10th out of 15th. So yeah, we're starting our teachers off well. We're giving them a lot of money to get started and to get into our schools. But the thing is, we're not paying them enough to stay. We're not giving them enough money to go ahead and stay here and compete and help our students get better, to help our schools stay competitive, to help make our schools great. And when you do talk to some of these teachers, they're at Colonial Heights now. They're in Chesterfield County schools now. Hell, some of them went over to Surrey. Some of them go to private schools. Some of them move to Northern Virginia. Some of them get out of the profession altogether because here they're not feeling the love. They're not feeling the love. Listen, you want to look, all divisions with a 5% bump, that 5% bump coming from the state. Prince George, we start out at number 2 for first year teachers. Step 15, we're 9th out of 15. Step 30, we're 11th out of 15. Listen, you want to take it further, give them that 5% bump from the state, give them that 6% bump that they requested from Prince George County Public Schools. They're 2nd when they start out. They're 8th at step 15. They're 9th at step 30. So yeah, we can bring teachers in and we can pay them well, but we're not paying them enough to stay. That's a funding problem. That's a funding problem. That's a funding problem. This is a funding problem. This is a money problem. This is a funding problem. These are money problems. These are money problems from the family. This is not having economic opportunities at home. This is your family. This is where you live. This is a societal thing. This is a community thing. This is a funding problem somewhere else. This is a lack of infrastructure problem. This is a lack of business development locally problem, okay? This is a funding problem also. All right, good. All right, let's get back to it. All right, on having more teachers, all right, 72% of teachers have reported having more teachers would have a substantial positive impact on their performance in their outlook. 72%. So maybe the 4 teachers that you know, the 6 teachers you know, they were like, it's not important to me. I like the numbers that we got here. Now, according to these 72% were like, we need some more teachers kicking around here. We need some more help. Listen, 76% of school divisions. So out of that 134, 72% report having more teachers, and listen to this, having more teachers, reduced class sizes, and teacher workload would improve teacher morale, recruiting, and retention. So listen, more money, more teachers in the school, smaller class sizes, and less workload. We're overworking these people. You're working these people like crazy. And I know a lot of you guys remember during the pandemic, everybody wanted to call teachers heroes. During the pandemic, we wanted to do parades for them. Oh, teachers, we miss you. Come to find out, that was just because you didn't want to teach your own damn kids. That's because you realized that those gremlins running around your house were a pain in the ass most of the time. And so to get them to sit down, eat their food, do their work, trust me, I know, we were homeschooling ours. I get it. You were like, man, we got to get these teachers back. So you did all this stuff. You blew all the smoke up their butt to try to get them back in there. And then when you get them back into the schools, we're not taking care of them. We're not doing our job. You want to keep the kids in the schools, we're not taking care of them. We're not doing our job. Listen, this one is good. I like this one right here. You're talking about requests, so listen, this one is good. This is 2022-2023 top 10 critical shortage teaching endorsement areas in Virginia. So in the state of Virginia, there's a lot of shortcomings, okay? Now, on here it says the highlighted areas, and once again, this is Prince George County Public Schools. This is on page 15. This is on the school board's proposed budget, page 15, okay? Now, listen, number one, in these skilled positions in fiscal year 22 and 23, Prince George had 22 unfilled teaching positions, 22. And the areas that are highlighted on here are the areas that are already impacting Prince George County Public Schools right now. Listen, tell me these aren't important to you, because they're important to me. Elementary education and pre-K, okay? Elementary education and pre-K. So these are our kids that are just getting started out. These are some of the most formative years of your child's life, and we don't have the teachers for that. We're not prepared for that, all right? SPED, special education. Anybody that has a special needs child, that has your children in public school, that is a big responsibility, and you're giving that up to the teachers. You're giving it up to the school system. You're giving it up to society, because we're in this thing together, right? We're not doing you any favors. We're not helping you out in Prince George. Middle education, grades 6 through 8, middle school. Listen, I'm about to have another middle schooler. I'm about to have one. I was in middle school. You were in middle school. You know what it was like. You know what it was like. People talk about high school being hard. Remember middle school? Remember the changes that went on in middle school? Now add social media to it. Now add YouTube, add Andrew Tate, add twerk videos, add every other thing that's happening in society right now. And we have a shortage of teachers at that critical junction in our kids' lives. All right, listen, mathematics, grades 6 through 12, and science, mathematics 6 through 12. Let's start there. So math 6 through 12, right here, including algebra. There was a young man in the last town hall debate, I forget his name, but he was talking about the fact of us not having advanced placement classes, or something like we only have 8, and other schools are offering like 30 classes. So the kid was upset, and he should have been upset. The dude sitting back missing opportunities to do something great with his life because we're not offering it. We're not offering it because we don't have the teachers to do it. We don't have the teachers to do it because we don't have the funding for it. All right? Last but not least, you're talking about science and English at the high school level. So listen, you take math, you take science, you take those, that's that STEM, that's science, technology, engineering, and math. So the future of our country, we're short. The future of our country, if we got kids that want to do these things, we're short. Now we got to hope they get one of those 2 slots to go to Code RVA. Now we got to hope they get one of those 2 slots to go to to go to ARGS. To get one of those 2 slots to go to Maggie Walker. We got to hope that our kids leave. Everybody keeps wanting everybody to leave Prince George, man. That's everybody's answer. If you want to get better, leave. If you want to grow, leave. If you want your schools to be better, leave. Leave. Why do you have to leave? I'm here. I'm from Prince George. This is my home. And I want to make my home better. And I'm sure a bunch of you that maybe you're from Prince George, maybe you moved to Prince George later in life. And yeah, you moved here. That still doesn't mean that you can't want things to get better. And I don't know if you're looking at the same thing and thinking the same things that I am, but when I look at this isn't peachy to me. This isn't great for me. I still got a kid that's going to come up that's in kindergarten. It's got to come up. I got a kid that's in 2nd grade that's got to come up. I've got a 5th grader that's got to come up through this. And you're talking about not adding businesses? You're talking about something as simple as adding the water tap to get the water treatment system to shoot water throughout the entire county so we can have businesses come in here, invest in our county, pay tax revenue that can go into our coffers, into our budget, so we can help fund these schools better, so we can give jobs to these parents to make sure that their kids and them too aren't economically disadvantaged. So we can start funding our schools a lot better than 15th out of 15th in Region 1, then 13th out of 15th in local funding, all right? Then 126 out of 134 statewide. We can start paying our teachers. We can start paying our administrators. We can start paying our bus drivers. We can start paying our staff, our lunch people. We can start paying everybody better than $4,500 below an average from a couple of years ago. All right? That's what's at stake. That's what's going on. So yeah, this is an important election. This is very important. And if you're like me, and I know people, I don't count. I'm not a real resident of Prince George because I don't own my home. So let me talk to you directly for everybody out there that might not own your home. Everybody out there that is a renter, that's a lower class person because you rent your home. Everybody out there that does struggle to pay their bills. Everybody out there that's not perfect. Everybody out there that hasn't been here for 15 generations. Every regular person that sends your kids to Prince George County Public Schools, this is the truth. This is the truth. And if that's okay with you now, and if that's going to continue to be okay with you going forward, then yeah, you shouldn't vote for me. You shouldn't vote for me. You should just keep everything status quo. You should keep everything in the way that it is. Or perhaps there was a post I saw the other day, which was ridiculous, about sending your kids to private school. If you want to send your kids to private school, by all means, send your kids to private school. I'm not going to tell you what to do with your children. If you want to homeschool your kids, homeschool your kids. That's a great option. But as a society, as a municipality, as a community of people, we owe it to each other to do better than this. We owe it to each other to be better than this, okay? The best of us should be talking to the less of us. We need to be working together. That's what communities do. That's what families do. And we are in this thing together, okay? And so if we're not going to do better than this, then I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you. But if you're voting for me, if you're going to take the time to go to the polls and you're like, hey, I'm going to vote Massenburg, let's grow together. This is, you've seen it. You've seen the posters. You've seen the videos. You've seen the banners. This is on my list. This is on my list, but I got to tell you something. To get this better, it's going to take some steps. It's not going to happen overnight. So that little cute talking point that people tried to throw out at the town hall to get their cousins and their uncles and everybody to laugh at them that fell flat because it wasn't funny. This isn't going to happen next year. This isn't going to happen in 2 years. This is going to take infrastructure building. This is going to take business development. This is going to take people moving into the county to get a wider tax base. This is going to take time. It's going to take a plan. It's going to take vision. I saw a great post on the Prince George County police page yesterday. Great post. And I think it said something to the effect of, and I'm butchering it right now, but it was like vision without action is a daydream and action without vision is a nightmare. You got a lot of folks that want to keep you in a nightmare. And let me tell you something. I hope it hits home. Listen. This is real. This is real. And if these numbers don't get better, if we're not adding infrastructure, if we're not adding business development for the majority, for the minority, this is going to get even more real. And then what's going to end up happening is your school is going to become a war zone. Your school is going to have metal detectors. Your school is going to have a big police presence. And I'm not anti-police. I just had a great conversation with Chief Early yesterday. Great conversation. I asked him about his vision for the future. I think that we're in alignment on that. But if you don't get these things better, where else are kids walking through metal detectors? Some Richmond City schools. Where else are kids walking through metal detectors? Hopewell. Where else are kids walking through metal detectors? Petersburg. Where else are kids walking through metal detectors? Any big inner city that's got economically disadvantaged students, economically disadvantaged parents, and tend to have a majority minority population. So if this is going to be us, if this is going to be the facts, if we're going to do that, let's be proactive and let's get ahead of the thing and let's do something that's good for everybody. Let's invest in our infrastructure. Let's get some businesses into this town, all right? And let's do something for everybody. Let's face up to it, man. This is who we are. This is who we are. This is who we're going to continue to be. We're in this thing together, okay? And so we want to make this better. We want to do right by our teachers. We want to do right by our administrators. We want to do right by our bus drivers. We want to do right by our staff. We want to do right by our students. We want to do right by our parents. We want to do right for the future. It's time to put up. Election day is November 7th. My name is Brandon Massenburg, and I'm running for Board of Supervisors, District 2. All right? You want more information? Go to the website, www.pgpeeps.com. You can hit me up on Facebook at Brandon Massenburg. You can hit me up on Instagram, Massive Performance 22. You can call me. My number's on the website. You can shoot me an email. I'm available. I want to talk. I want to represent you. I want to get to work. I've already had the conversations with the people about what needs to be done. That's why I'm doing these things. I'm not waiting until I get elected and then go play Board of Supervisors. This isn't for play. This is for real. This is about the future of my children, my family, your children, and your family. And I'm the right man for the job, okay? And yes, I am. I'm only one man. I'm going to tell you what, one person can make a difference. One person can make a difference. And if you got one person like me out here advocating and fighting for you every single day, trust me, it will make a difference, all right? Thank you. Vote Massenburg.